In the social justice system, special snowflake offenses are considered especially heinous. On the internet,
Welcome to the Dire Wolf Show, where we believe that America is exceptional and that our constitutional rights should never be infringed. I am Dire Wolf. On our show, we bring you the truth and debunk fake news. If you love laughing at the insanity of the regressive left, sit back and relax. Boy, do I have a show for you.
You shot a bazooka at my head.
All I gotta say is America. I hope you guys like the intro.
Is doing a backflip? Is that proper Air Force technique there?
Absolutely, I would assume.
Yes.
Because I think that everything in the military should be done on the basis of what is awesome or what is not.
Yes. Everything should involve a backflip.
Yes. When our general was discussing doing shock and awe in Iraq, I mean, they asked themselves, yes, we could fire all these cruise missiles, but would it be awesome? And they're like, yes, sir. It will be the most awesome thing you've seen your entire life. And you're like, okay, then let's do it.
And that was my point last week with the nuking the hurricanes, is that while it may not be effective, I think it would look awesome.
Yeah, for all people making the argument about it being effective or not, they're missing the point. Think of the cool explosion and all the lights.
You know, what'd be even cooler is if I didn't interrupt you while you were introducing me.
That's all right. I don't need to introduce you. Just kidding. So welcome back, Wolfpack. Dire Wolf here for the Dire Discusses show, whose idea was actually Fox's idea to do these kinds of shows, and I'm really enjoying them. So thank you, Foxlot, my co-host. How you doing?
It is Fox Trevize now, but I do enjoy.
Oh my God!
That dang me. Yes, I do enjoy these. It was kind of my idea, but it was more so watching what Dire does best, and that is going on crazy rants that are unscripted completely, and him just kind of going from the heart. And I liked it. I know all you guys like it, and I was like, hey, let's make a whole show about it. So that's what these shows are: is a lot less scripting, a lot more from the heart and off the cuff, and really getting down into a single topic in a way that we can't do, and we're running through the full news recap for the week.
Yep. Hey there, Shaman King. So
thank you for the lemon Tetris freak, and then we also have Jesse Teller. I don't know when you subscribe or when you followed. I don't know if that was the stream or not, but thank you. And we had a bunch of other followers earlier in the stream that I noticed.
Yeah, I think Tetris Freak actually gave us a lemon twice now, actually, before the show ever went live. So thank you very much for that. So before we get to the main topic, I forgot the person's name. There was another lefty that was a regular on YouTube, has been deplatformed.
Was it ContraPoints?
ContraPoints, yes. I actually did a response video to ContraPoints once, and ContraPoints has closed her channel apparently.
Yes, I also vaguely heard about that. From my understanding, her Twitter was removed, or she deleted her Twitter, I guess. I don't know anything about why. I know I was seeing it all over YouTube main page. Everybody was doing reaction videos to something about ContraPoints, and then I just watched Crowder's live stream, and he said that Zur deleted her Twitter account, but I don't actually know much about it other than she had, like, I guess, a bad hot take on something about trans issues.
Yes.
Sure,
so Zur said that there alluded to there being people out there who call themselves trans who are just a dude saying they're a girl and not actually trans.
Dare she?
And that is breaking one of the cardinal rules of the dude transgenderism. And he was immediately excommunicated from the Church of Trans Rights, I guess. But God damn it, they turned on her in a second. They had always praised her as being someone who was in the trans ideology, who was on the far left, that was able to speak to people on the center, left, and center, and bring people more towards the left. And they praised her as being this conduit to converting people to the far left. So that would be someone that you think they'd want to support, right? Someone who's a good advocate for their ideology, I guess.
No true Scotsman, I guess.
But goddamn, the left is their own worst enemy because inherent in their ideology is always breaking people apart, tearing people down, and turning, and trying to destroy everyone who disagrees, even just a little bit. So someone who could agree with you, like for 99%, or even 100%, just one day has a bad hot take. That's it. You're gone. There's no coming back. They destroy all their allies. Eventually, they're going to find that they're going to be alone, having killed every last ally they've had.
It'll be interesting to see who's left standing, right? Because eventually, it's always got to be, I don't know, it's always whoever's like the most outraged. But eventually, there'll only be 2 or 3 people left who can be the most outraged.
So the reasonable people on the left and the right, they realize, or they understand the concept of coalition building, where your focus shouldn't be to constantly push people away because of small differences. It is to have a big tent where you join together, enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? But then at the same time, you're bringing people into the camp where you're trying, okay, we're fighting towards a common goal, even though we aren't all the same. While you have that coalition of going towards a common goal, you then have the opportunity to engage with people in that tent to bring them more towards your side by educating and letting them, and familiarizing yourself with them, right?
Well, and not to mention an opportunity to learn when your ideology isn't based in rigid dogma. You are interested in hearing other points of view and maybe seeing, maybe I am wrong on that. Maybe I need to challenge what I'm doing and have some self-growth. And you can only do that by exposing yourself to people who don't rigidly believe the exact same thing that you do.
Yes, one way to make sure it's not actually having a big tent is a way to break down the echo chamber, the trending towards echo chambers. So you can ensure that your political philosophy is not an echo chamber, and has the opportunity to grow if you don't constantly try to push away anyone because of any small difference. Fox and I, we don't agree on everything, I'm sure. There's a lot of people who I politically, I would, fight alongside in the culture war, but we have differences, right? Like Sargon of Akkad. Sargon of Akkad and I have a lot of things that we believe are in common, but also a lot of things we disagree with. But we're both against the far left, right?
I think also Tim Pool's a good example of that, because we have a lot of things that we agree with Tim Pool on, and we have just as many things we love to rip him on for. You stupid socialist! Why would you say that? It's so dumb. But we know that he's got good takes on stuff. We know that he's got bad takes on stuff, and I think that's and he knows that from our side that would be one of the major reasons why he did an event with people like Sargon just last week. Because he knows that that's what we think, and he thinks the same thing, where it's of value to talk to people who aren't necessarily exactly like you.
Right. And also, Slowpoke, I am watching Streamlabs, so if you do have to do a Streamlabs, I will be seeing it. But thanks for reminding me.
Thank you very much, Ori Main, for a diamond. We very much appreciate that. Love that ice.
Yes, and Ori, if you'd like to, you can definitely link to your music. Ori Main is a wonderful musician, and he has stuff for sale.
He does. And Ori, anytime that you would like, or even if you don't like, we're going to force you to do it. You have to do a game stream with us. Whether you want to or not.
We're going to tie you to the chair,
yes,
with one hand out, just so you can, type in things into jackbox.tv. Yes. So going back to the left and their propensity to, try to destroy people that have, that aren't politically in line with them, that moves perfectly into what our story is about. So we're talking about the Hollywood blacklist. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. And it started off with the Will and Grace star Deborah Messing, who this last Friday demanded a list of attendees at an upcoming fundraiser for Donald Trump in Beverly Hills. And she said that she wanted to have a list of all the conservatives or the supporters of Trump that were attending, because she wanted to make sure that she never worked with them, because she wanted to avoid those people. Which is, it's no, it's not an uncommon thing. It is kind of uncommon for someone in Hollywood to say that out loud. But that did not go over well because Hollywood has a lot of history of blacklisting people, and it's not a very good history.
Not a great one.
No.
I also I think I've heard of this show, but I'm not familiar with it. Go figure. But I believe it got canceled. I think I heard. I also believe Andrew Wilkhouse said something to the effect that I believe one of those actors is currently out of work, so he thought it was funny that he would be saying that he didn't want to work with anybody because that implies that he has work right now.
I guess that it'd be very easy to avoid working with him when he's not actually working himself. So, oddly enough, Whoopi Goldberg, I very rarely find myself agreeing with something that Whoopi Goldberg says. And I don't know if you guys know her, but she was on the show The View, which is only filled with terrible views.
And Meghan McCain.
And Meghan McCain. Whoopi responded saying that Hollywood has already had blacklist, and it was a terrible thing in the past, and it'd be a terrible thing now. She said that if you start making a blacklist, you make blacklist, that the next list that's made could include your name. The point is, yeah, okay, so the political philosophy that's popular now is the left in Hollywood. But what happens when that philosophy isn't the one that's popular, that's in power there, and then you're the one on the outs? Then you have people saying that you can't get a job anymore, and that your career, the only thing you are currently suited for at age like whatever, how old Whoopi Goldberg is, the only thing you could be doing right now, basically, what has allowed your lifestyle, that's gone because you have the wrong political philosophy. You voted for the wrong person. You supported the wrong person, and that is a very toxic kind of culture to have. She's like, no, we can't start doing that to other Americans, basically.
And we couldn't agree more that is, which we're going to be going through some of the examples of why that's a terrible thing, which will be interesting because it's interesting that Whoopi's only bringing us up now. But we do want to recognize her again that this was correct. What she said was absolutely correct. The lists that come out today, if you cheer for them, you're going to be on those lists tomorrow. It will be, as we just said, with ContraPoints, somebody who is, always been for years, always been right in line with the ideological position that she's with, and she slips up for one moment, and she is no longer on YouTube and completely deleted her Twitter. I mean, that's the type of slip up that you're talking about. So. Whoopi is absolutely correct, and she can see that, and she doesn't want to have to silence herself. Obviously, she loves talking. That's why she's on The View. But she can see that that's what's going to happen. Is that she knows that she's got a lot of hot takes, and again, her even saying this is going against the grain, and she may well find herself at the end of this. She might find herself also on that list for even bringing up that you shouldn't be making these lists.
Yeah. So the blacklist in the past she's referring to is referring back to the like MacArthur era blacklist, 1950, where people in Hollywood that were communists or socialists were or just believed to be, right? They were just called that. Sometimes they actually were. They were blacklisted and couldn't get a job. It wasn't just actors. It was everyone that worked in the industry were just shut out of a job.
And a lot of times people associated with those people. So it might not necessarily have been you, but you were friends with one of those dirty reds.
Exactly. And the problem was the vast majority were people that were accused without evidence. They were Me Too'd, if you would go that kind of a analogy.
To coin a phrase.
Yeah. So and that's how even more destructive than this kind of blacklisting can be. So people assume it's, someone did something wrong and they're being punished for it. No. It's like someone calls you a Nazi because they just don't like you, think you look like someone they wouldn't like, or just because they want to destroy someone. They just call you something. They accuse you of being in the group, and then because the accusation's out there, you get added to the list, and now everyone is treating you like you are that thing.
For the group that talks so much about not labeling people, they love slapping that Nazi label on people, and then they've got you branded. You've been identified as somebody who shouldn't be personed. You need to be avoided. You're an outcast.
Yeah, exactly. So these blacklists often are used just just because someone doesn't like someone else. They can make the accusation, add them to the list, destroy someone's life just because they don't like them. It is a really toxic thing for people to engage in any society.
Real quick here, Ari Main gave us a second diamond. Thank you very much. And he says, Whoopi actually used to be BFs with Trump, which is definitely true. And she's on a long list of people who used to be best friends with Trump before he was Trump.
Okay, well, no, I mean, before he ran for president, because
yes,
Trump,
before he was President Trump.
Trump is a liberal. He's a business liberal, a business Democrat, rather. He looks like a conservative now because the left has moved so far to the left that they've left Trump, and a lot of people like Trump towards the center. Slowpoke gave us $5 on Streamlabs. Thank you very much.
This got to be a dangerous $5. What's it say?
I haven't received it yet, so I don't know. I saw it in the chat on the Streamlabs OBS.
Streamlabs just wholesale censored that thing.
It may have censored it because it did not. It's not even showing. One second. Let me hit reload. Okay, here it is.
Supposed to see that.
Slowpoke says Futa is short for Futanari. Futanari is women with big throbbing dicks. Just end the show. Finger your asshole. Okay, I guess the direction this is going. Thank you very much, Slowpoke, for the $5.
That makes sense why I did not read it aloud.
Yeah, that's those are the words. Anyways, so getting back to the story, there's been lots of blacklists, but I also want to point out that dictators throughout history have used blacklists. We've had, like Hitler, for instance. They shut down anyone who would criticize the regime, if not, hunting them down and killing them if they were really disruptive. But just because if they were, someone who wasn't politically aligned with the party, they could not get a job either. This is a common tactic of authoritarians, is to blacklist anyone who could have a opposing opinion.
Yes, it's you've got the enemies list, which has been a common thing among presidents throughout history, but also certainly across other countries. And it's interesting. It's kind of a way of lazily getting your followers in line. A lot of people don't have time to also go out and ferret out everybody that they're supposed to hate for the day. And so creating these lists, especially for an authoritarian type or somebody leading some kind of ideology, these lists make it very easy for them to control their following. And the following doesn't have to necessarily be intelligent. They just have to follow this list. And so it's a very lazy way of creating a kind of mob, saying, okay, here's the list of people that we hate today. Don't associate with them, and or if you do, make sure that you're attacking them and making sure that they know that they did something wrong, and you better not do anything wrong, or you're going to end up on that list. It's both a lazy way of making sure that the mob is in line with you, and also making sure that they're scared to be on that list.
Right. It also has a chilling effect. So you destroy some people's lives. You make it very public. You have this list showing exactly the people, shaming the people that you think are on the political outs. And now everyone who sees this happen, these basically public executions of people's character, they're like, oh no, I don't want to be accused of the things that person did. I want what happened to them to happen to me. And it fills people with fear and prevents them from acting. It helps to keep the entire populace in line.
It's very quick way of forming divisions too. Yeah, dividing that populace, because the people who are not on that list, who don't want to be on that list, they will defend, oh well, I'm not on that list because I'm not one of the bad ones, and that kind of implies that the list in fact is the bad people.
Right.
It reinforces itself through that fear mechanism.
And the funny thing is that ContraPoints wasn't someone who was going out there and defending all the many conservatives and then centrists and then left-leaning centrists that were getting banned before her or getting attacked by the hate mob before her. And yet, eventually that hate mob that she never called out comes around and comes for her.
Yep. So that's first they came for, which we'll get back into that in a bit here.
Yeah. And then a few other examples is they went for Roseanne, also a bit of a lefty, and she got shut down.
Specifically Hollywood examples, because what we're going to be going through here is that again, thank you very much, Whoopi, for calling this out, but you're a little late to the party.
Mm-hmm. They also hit up Tim Allen. He didn't lose his show. Still got Last Man Standing, but sorry,
no, that got canceled.
Sorry. Last Man Standing got canceled because of his conservative views. He was getting hate the whole time because he was one of the very few successful, still standing conservative actors.
Yes.
Ironically named. But conservative being blacklisted is not a new thing in Hollywood. It's kind of like an unspoken thing that's been around for a very long time. And it's part of a bit of a example of a much greater divide in society. The far lefts have been attempting to ban have been trying to have been banning average people every day, not just actors, but average people. A few examples would be the constant banning of people from Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Just recently, there was 17,000 accounts shut down, 100,000 videos shut down, comments. Sorry, 100,000 comments deleted. They are banning people on all these social media platforms and limiting their ability to have a voice in society.
Yes, it's and that's part of the reason too with these lists is it's got a silencing effect. Not necessarily that the people on the list are going to be silent, but it's implied that again, if they're on the list, it's for a bad reason, and you shouldn't be listening to what they have to say.
Cut dry. They also are doing boycotting of businesses and public spaces because of political donations of their employees, like Chick-fil-A, some of the employees donate to a political party. Yeah, but they donate to both political parties. But because they donate to one political party, they're trying to destroy the business by doing a hate mob campaign where they say that Chick-fil-A that just sells sandwiches is somehow anti-gay or anti-LGBT.
And another example of that is, and that example of Chick-fil-A, those were donations from years and years ago, back in 2012, I think.
That had nothing to do with the business.
Yes, but another example of that, which is it highlights the key problem with creating blacklists like this, is more recently was Olive Garden, which turned out to be they got put on the list. They got they spun up the hate mob against them, but they were wrongly put on that list. They were wrongly labeled quote unquote Trump supporters, which I guess is equivalent to saying Nazi now. But that's one of the risks of these lists is that you're not gonna have perfect fidelity on who you're putting on there. You're gonna pull in false positives of what you're trying to pin down. And so people like Chick-fil-A or people like Olive Garden got caught up in that, and that's I think that's part of the reason why Whoopi's so scared of this is she can see that coming, and she can see people who you're not trying to target. You guys are going to end up on this list eventually too. They're going to come for everybody.
Yeah, and another example of that be the brewery that Tim Pool is planning on doing an event at, that's going to have people on the left and the right sitting down and having a dialogue. So it wasn't a right-wing thing. First off, Tim Pool is far from right-wing. He's very much on the left, and he's the one helping put on this event. And then he has people that are like well-known regressive leftists also coming and speaking. Yeah, the Young Turks, for God's sake. And so because Tim Pool was trying to have this event that encouraged dialogue at this brewery, Antifa, said that they were supporting Nazis and the right wing. So the brewery would have been blacklisted and was receiving threats that they're going to have the place burned down.
Yes. Thank you very much. The Win 94 donated a Ninja Genie.
Ooh, thank you.
And he says, the Second Civil War, USA versus Clown World. Yes, probably. It will be full of people getting squirted in the face with fake flowers. It'll be terrifying.
One side would have the fake flowers with water, and the other one would have like 50 cows. See who wins. Whatever happens, we know it'll be awesome.
Yes, it'll be interesting. I don't like clowns, so let's get rid of them.
So war seems like the perfect answer.
So, so not just people labeling businesses as quote unquote on the blacklist. They must be avoided at all costs. They must be boycotted, and they must have their industry dismantled. We also have certain businesses themselves trying to root out employees. A few years ago, we had the case of James Damore within Google, who Google decided, well, we need to have blacklists of our own. We need to start rooting out our employees for wrongthink. And they went after James Damore, and he ended up getting fired for having some, again, rather milquetoast centrist and constructive opinions on how to deal with gender gaps.
Yeah, the thing about the blacklist and the cancel culture in general, the philosophy of someone has a different opinion, so they must just be shut down and not talked to. You can't let their voice out because you can't let dissent be heard. That shuts down the ability for you to critically think and then learn things. So, sure, you have an opinion, but maybe that opinion's wrong or could be refined by that other, someone else's counter opinion, right?
Yes.
We're not going to look into how to actually solve the problem of a gender wage gap, or at least understand the problem, if we're not hearing people counter the lies that we believe, or let's say counter our opinions so we can then defend them and better understand what we believe. We know what they believe lie, but they don't know that. Well, they should be willing to have their opinions challenged so they can better understand and be able to defend what they believe.
Well, some of the issue too, especially in this case with James Damore and several other of these cases as well, is not even dissenting, but just asking for clarification, not just accepting the scripture dogma as fact and just accepting it and moving on. Even asking for clarification or recommending clarification in this case of James Damore. He totally agreed that, yes, we do need more women in STEM. This is how I think we could achieve that. That was not accepted. It was just saying that you need to believe and accept this, and do not talk about it. Don't ask questions about it. Just believe it and be quiet.
And we got a Streamlabs for $3 from Slowpoke Garcia. He says, here's some more shekels for saying my message, even though you said it softly. You guys are awesome as hell. You're welcome.
Yes, Dyer, you have to say that with more fervor next time.
Okay, next thing that Slowpoke says, I will say with full gusto and energy.
$5 gets Dyer to say it. $11 gets Dyer to say it with gusto.
Yeah, I'll say it again. So $5, I will whisper it uncomfortably. I will say with gusto for 11.
Yes. $11 is $11.
Please don't make just don't make it a long paragraph, please.
So Triumvirate says labor unions and the mafia have been using these silencing tactics for a long time. That is a great point, and it is very true. The unions have done that. They obviously they had their place in history, less so now. But as we've moved into the modern era where they found themselves less needed, that has been one of their primary tactics. Is when they come in, they divide up the worker base. They get people to kind of harass the people who are not in the union. I know I've heard a lot of cases of that from various people my dad knows and other friends I have in the trades, that union organizations, especially if you have a split company, the union is very vicious to people who are not in the union, which I believe that's also seen pretty regularly with teachers' unions, who are just a joy.
So unions also tend towards authoritarianism, and they, just like every other authoritarian, want to shut down any counter opinions. That's not surprising at all. Another example of the blacklisting that takes place now to everyday persons is when Julian Castro released the names of Trump's donors. Um,
What a jerk.
yeah, he was actively trying to get these people to be harassed and shamed for who they voted for. But if that were to be done in the reverse, if people that had supported Hillary or are supporting the left wing candidates were being released and advertised to the media, first off, nothing would happen to them because the right don't try to suppress people because of their opinions, but the leftist media would be outraged, saying that they're trying to direct hate. But then they don't see that's what they're doing on a regular basis. When not only do they release people's names, like, hey, here's the targets you should guys to go after, then you have people like Maxine Waters going out there and saying that we need to get in the face of Trump supporters and people in his cabinet and tell them they aren't welcome here. Go to them at restaurants and gas stations and get in their face. She's telling people that these people that support Trump should be kept out of a normal life. They should be blacklisted, essentially.
It's totally just, I can't believe that the founding fathers would shed a tear to see a elected representative talking to the populace like that. That is not, that goes into the I think it was John Adams, or was he the one who said that we needed to have a moral people for the Constitution to work? That's not in the spirit of what America was meant for. That's not in the spirit of what your First Amendment right to say that. It's not within the spirit of protecting it. Also like to thank Ori Main for giving 3 diamonds, 8 ice creams, and a lemon. And I bet he's probably pretty surprised I said it all like that.
Yes. Also, thank you, Tetris Freak, for your 2 lemons, and Ship Meme Dankpost for your 1 ice cream. We appreciate all of it. Thank you very much.
Yes, and Davy Duff says, the more you know about what others think and why they think it, the better prepared you are to deal with people moving forward. And I couldn't agree more. That's one of the things that we were talking about earlier, is that you kind of, again, talking to people who don't agree with you or don't exactly align with you, it challenges your own positions and helps you grow. But also, it especially when you're talking to somebody who you definitely don't agree with, it helps you refine your point. It helps you understand where they're coming from, and it makes you better prepared to debate them, but also convince them and to recognize and respond to those arguments and ideas in the future.
Right. I think that a lot of people on the right, they approach the political debate of, hey, trying to help bring the other people to understand the truth in their mind, whereas people on the far left, their goal isn't to try to convince the person that they disagree with, it's to destroy them, because they have no defense. They have no way to convince. The only way is to shut you up. Another example was when Kathy Griffin said that she wanted the names of the Covington kids,
boys,
so she could dox them, or she wanted the dox for them. And a lot of people were calling for that. They wanted to take these kids just because of a picture of them chanting and standing there doing nothing, chanting nothing mean at all, just because they saw this video that, with some accusations attached to it. Just like the reason why most people are added to blacklists is because of an accusation. They saw these kids that were accused of something, and like, we want to destroy these kids because
once again, people who are not having anything to do with what they are supposedly what Kathy Griffin's ideology is. These kids had nothing to do with it, and she still swept them up in there. The accusation was enough. We don't need anything else other than the accusation, even though there was, mounds and mounds of evidence to the contrary. Nothing can beat that first accusation. And she put them on a list, and she wanted her followers to dox them. And, presumably, so we can, it's very hard to guess what she wanted to do with that list, but I think we can guess that she probably wanted to cause them harm in some way.
Well, one journalist, quote unquote, posted a picture of a wood chipper with someone going into it as an explanation for what he wanted.
That was actually not a journalist. That was a Disney director. I don't remember what movies he directed, but he was a director for Disney, the Mickey Mouse people.
That's so kid friendly, isn't it?
Yeah,
Throwing kids into wood chippers.
it's adorable. It's
So
adorable.
cute. And then of course, we have the example of the far left shutting down political speakers on campus and shutting
Which are
down political
far
debate
too-
in general.
Yeah, far
Right.
too numerous to go into every single one of those. But as you guys all know, that has been going on continuously for at least the last 5 years.
Yeah. As an example for university censorship, I'm just going to gesture in the direction of Berkeley. All of it. All of Berkeley.
Yeah, which if you're having trouble figuring out which direction Berkeley is in, just follow the smoke.
Exactly. But then we also have the safe spaces, right? So not only is it they are intimidating students by going after any speaker that they might support, and also shutting down students in classrooms or having professors berate students in class for their opinions to shut them up, and giving them bad grades, failing them because of their opinions. Not only do we have that, but we also have classrooms set up to be like black only or female only or left-wing opinions only, these safe spaces to segregate themselves from any other possible opinion.
Well, and by segregate, that's their terminology. The proper way to explain that is that they're trying to exclude people. That is their goal, is exclusion.
Right. And what they want is total social exclusion, right? Not just the one classroom. They want to expand it, and they're pushing the boundaries a little bit each time until we get to like Evergreen, where they're actually trying to get white people completely off campus. They want to do the power play of segregating people when they want to. And I think a lot about this is not really like they. And I think most of the goal, a lot of the Antifa types, the far left types, is just to do the power play, just to demonstrate their power on society, to put people in fear, right?
Well, and again, that goes back to the idea of the lists, which that's what this whole thing's related back to. Is there's all these things that kind of are lists or parallel the lists, and at the heart of it is excluding people from being able to interact with the public at large, whether it's you're excluding them from resources or access, and you also want to make sure that everybody knows that they're wrong, and you want them to be scared, and you want people who aren't on that list to be scared to be put on that list, and you want to make sure that it's known that they are not the people that you want to associate with. And that's what all of this stuff relates back to.
If you have that wrong opinion, they might send a journalist and a camera crew to your house. They might, get a hold of your personal information and then threaten to dox you if you don't apologize for making the WWE CNN Trump meme. Their goal is to destroy anyone and then make an example out of them.
Exactly.
Anyways, so the far left really just have a knack for banning things in general, not just people, but they also have attempted to ban things like milk, the OK sign, MAGA hats. According to them, all these things are racist.
Yeah, and the latest thing to be added to that list of that list of black items that you're not allowed to use or say anymore is the Betsy Ross flag. The first flag that America had was beautiful stars and stripes, little 13 stars in a circle representing the first 13 states. A real piece of our history. The founding of America was absolutely objectively a good thing in the world, and that was the first symbol that represented us. And it is now it's now been added to the list of hate symbols, alongside other notable hate symbols, as Dyer just read, which would be milk and the OK sign, and red hats. But as is the theme tonight, these lists are neither rational nor correct, but they are still the lists, and finding yourself on that list is you become a forbidden object.
Yeah, it's funny. They use social equality as the reason for a lot of the things that they are banning, but there is no consistency to their belief system. Math and science and meritocracy
And
or
time.
time, and because it's it's not their fault that they show up late. It's because they can't understand the concept of time. These things that they're saying are racist for you to as reasonable expectations of people, or a meritocracy. Benefiting someone who has more merit over someone who has less merit. They say these things are racist because they're defending black people or Hispanic people or minority groups. But in reality, they're insulting them because the saying that they can't show up for work or they can't understand math or they will never do well in a meritocracy means you think that they are inferior. So their political ideology is not consistent. It all comes down to them just being authoritarian and wanting to put you on that list of people that are to be segregated from society.
Yes, and you can't question these things. Again, you can't get clarification. You can't question whether or not they're rational or not. You just have to accept them, and otherwise you're on the blacklist.
You got a license for that globe in your background? Move on.
Yeah, we're globalists here. It's you figured out our secret symbology. Yes.
Gosh darn it! Now we have to kill them all.
And I figured out that I can't say that word.
Globalist
Awkward.
or symbology or awkward. All these words are hard.
Yeah, the rest of the stream will be conducted via grunts and gurgles.
All right. So the funny thing is, it's not funny. It's kind of sad actually. The far left don't create things at all. They just tear things down. Socialism has never created a society or a country. It has definitely destroyed a lot of them. They tear down our monuments to destroy our history. They attack our flag to destroy national pride. They tell us about how our country was born of racism and is only exists because of bigotry, while at the same time destroying our books, our history books, so we could never know the truth. They don't want us to believe that or to know that our country and its founding and the principles that it was born from were exceptional. They want us to hate our own country and to hate our origins. And that's just to tear us down. They also support abortion so they can destroy our future. They create nothing. They boycott stores and restaurants owned by conservatives so they can destroy our economy. They build nothing.
That's part of these. Well, at the core of it is it's Marxism, right? And then the core tenets for Marxism is the quote unquote working class rising up, and they got to destroy the people that quote unquote enslaved them, and that's a lot of what this I believe it's grievance politics is what it's called, and that's what it's completely centered around is grievance, and really it's about vengeance. These lists and these things, these crazy ideas that they want you to believe in. It's all about it's not about creating something. You're not going to be able to create a business out of any of these. They're not a workable economic principle, but they are a vengeance. They're a form of destroying this thing that you perceived wronged you. And anybody who disagrees with that, they are now part of that group that has wronged you. And that's what these lists are for. They delineate that. And the only solution that these Marxism-based ideologies grant you is vengeance. It's destruction. It's tearing down these institutions that do all these crazy things that they have this myth around.
So Trapment and Chip Meme Bank Post are having an interesting conversation. They're saying first Meme Bank Post said, if minorities could use guns to defend themselves, why do they want to ban guns? So most people who want to ban guns don't understand guns.
And they also pay people with guns to protect them.
No, I mean like the average people who aren't the people in power who are trying to influence people. The average person who believes that guns are bad generally have no familiarity with them and have a a diet of left-stream media telling them how dangerous guns are and how there is no good purpose for them. We have no one defending on the left the reason why we have guns in the first place, or the between 500,000 to a million defensive use of a firearm each year.
And that's just of the ones that they know of, which some estimates put it at closer to 3 million.
Yeah, there are several studies on it. Some of them are an estimate off of smaller numbers, but try to expand it to the full population.
Yeah.
But they can prove a very high number of them already. So I think that the people that the minority groups you're referring to that would be voting for gun bans are people who don't know better and have believed the lies and have never been taught the truth, and that's why they believe it. Now, the people who are actually advocating for gun bans, the people on the left, they don't, like Trumpian said, they aren't opposed to guns in general. They love the government and the police having the guns. They don't want us to not have the guns, so that half the country that disagrees with their policies can be subdued easily.
Well, also ironically, and this goes into part of the theme again, is their ideology doesn't make sense. It's not internally consistent. So the same people, and this is an old argument that you guys probably heard before, but that doesn't make it wrong, is the same people that think the cops are racist, that they're out there hunting black youths in the night to gun them down with their hands up after they yell "Don't shoot." Those are the cops that they want to be the only people who have guns. So you guys figure that one out. But if you ask questions about that for clarification, well, you're gonna end up on one of these lists.
Yep. Really, I support any law-abiding minority, black, or Hispanic, whatever. If they're following the law, they have no criminal record, they should have a gun. Not only them. Everyone who legally can and is safe to own one should get a gun and know how to use it.
Well, and let's to be frank, these statistics, I know that they're probably hate facts, but they are facts. The statistics are that minority communities have far higher crime rates. They're far more likely to be victims of crime, and they are. But by definition, they're the ones because they're minorities. They're the ones most likely to suffer some kind of organized oppression from the government. They're the ones who'd be easiest targeted. They're the ones who the Second Amendment was written for, to protect themselves. They should be all arming up. If you're just the tiniest bit brown, you should go buy a gun. That's my recommendation.
Particularly if you believe that our country is a horribly racist place that is coming for you.
Why wouldn't you want to?
Why would you not
yourself?
already be arming yourself?
That was actually a hilarious and true, and maybe a little bit sad point that Dave Chappelle made in his special. One of the reasons why he's a gun-toting Second Amendment supporter, reluctant Second Amendment supporter, is he was a little concerned one day when some unsavory-looking white people walked across his property. He goes, I'm a black man. I ought to defend myself, or at least have the ability to defend myself. And that's why he went out and bought a gun. And that's, it's both a very funny story, which I highly recommend going and watching, and giving it an upvote, and a thumbs up on Netflix, and giving it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But beyond that, it's very true. There's if you're a minority, or if you're part of the majority, it doesn't really matter. If you are in a situation where, and anybody could be at any time, it's your right to be able to defend yourself. You should exercise that right, and you shouldn't let anybody tell you otherwise. If somebody tells you that it's not your, if somebody tells you that they want to take away your right to defend yourself, you should really question why they want to take that away from you.
Yeah,
that's the most suspect thing somebody could possibly ask you to do.
Yep. David Duff says that they are the people who are surprised it's hard to buy a gun at Walmart. It's very funny that recent news story where a journalist tried to show how easy it was to get a gun and realized that it was actually extraordinarily difficult to buy a gun from Walmart, and it's got more difficult. They've stopped selling guns in even more of their stores. So,
I also loved the completely genuine pouty face that she had for the article picture. She's just like, she was so pouty that she could not get a gun. It was just perfect Instagram face. Everybody loved that.
it
No
still
filters.
doesn't beat that one article about that one journalist who went to fire an AR for the first time and then cried like a freaking baby because said he had PTSD from firing the rifle.
Oh, I thought you were going for a different one. No, this one. So that one is pretty good, but mine's about to beat that one. I'm talking about the journalist who I think it was the Chicago Sun, maybe I could be wrong, but it was about 3 years ago. It was one of the Chicago newspapers. He went to go buy a gun, and he was going to do a story on it, and the gun shop wouldn't sell him a gun. And so he wrote a story about how this gun shop, calling them out by name, calling the owners out by name, how they must have known that he was a journalist with tens of readers, and they wouldn't sell him a gun because they knew that he was going to write a story about them. And so he wrote an article smearing them. He continued to smear them all week. They politely asked him to stop smearing them, and he would not. And so they released why they wouldn't sell him a gun, and it was because his background check came back that he hits his wife rather severely, and part of our system here, again, the left is always calling for more background checks. We've got background checks. The background check on him came back, said he was a domestic abuser, and we don't sell guns to domestic abusers. That's a common sense gun reform that we have now and have had for a long time. And this poor journalist, he hits his wife, and now everybody knows.
Yeah, because he's an idiot. When it comes to all this discussion about we got to pass something, we got to do something. Doesn't matter if it's effective or not. We just got to do something because we got to react to this most recent shooting. Yada yada yada. Emotional response to
outrage.
Yeah. So my response is, okay, we have background checks already. The only really problem I see is how the background checks in some cases were ineffective. How about we explore why and what caused these background checks to be ineffective in some cases, and why don't we fix that? Just make it so we follow the law as it is, instead of trying to go to the extreme of, how about we just ban every semi-automatic weapon in existence, which, by the way, includes all handguns. We're going to call all those assault rifles.
And magazines that hold more than one bullet.
Yeah, just hold bullets. Oh, wow. That was ridiculous.
That'll be a story we'll be jumping into on Saturday. Little teaser for you.
Yeah, if you want to see what the kind of rifle they want in the future, look at what a California AR looks like. It's ridiculous.
I think a gun that is only has one bullet and is not semi-fully automatic. That sounds. I think the only thing like that would be like either a musket or a printed gun, which I don't think if they're talking about printed guns. I don't think that they want that either.
You know what? I think that printed guns is kind of the direction to go. They're improving the technology to be able to make more sturdy printed guns with better materials. Because I don't know if I want
still run the risk of some of your fingers coming off in the process.
I know, but so I'm like, I would wait till they get a little bit better, but I don't really like the idea of them tracking, who owns what, right? When they're as authoritarian as they're becoming, I'm becoming less trustful.
Yeah, there's certainly and that's some of the. I'm trying to think about how I should phrase this. So there's certainly some scary parts of the idea of people being able to print out their own guns. Certainly around the idea of children. But yeah, at the same time, that's kind of the radical libertarian deep down inside me is saying, hey, that is exactly what the founding fathers would have wanted, is anybody to be able to access a gun at any time and not have the government know about it.
We used to teach gun safety in schools to kids.
Yeah, that definitely needs to that needs to be brought back.
So David Duff asked, "Is a 50 cal a bolt action rifle?" It is. I guess it can be. There's lots of different kind of 50 cal rifles, but they generally have a magazine that holds more than one bullet.
This is yeah. They got a couple bullets in there, don't they? It's
Anyways, so bringing this back to the story we were talking about, 'cause we got to bring the show to a close here.
Yes, we do.
Give me your conclusion on this story.
So as I said before, we are pleased and very supportive of what Whoopi had to say. We totally agree with her statement that if you support these lists today, you're going to end up on those lists tomorrow. That is absolutely the correct thing to say, and it's the correct idea, and it's a reason why people should be fearful of anybody making these lists, and why we should stop doing it, and call out the people, not necessarily put them on a list, but call out people who are trying to make these lists. Tell them that is not the American way. That's not the future that we want for us, and that's not the future that they want for themselves. It never ends well. And so it's great that she's finally seen the light that these lists are bad, but she's a little late to the party. She sat by for years as all of the examples. We just did a whole hour of examples of lists that the left has created, either directly or kind of figuratively creating lists of people who are not to be personed, people who are not allowed to interact with society, people who must be shunned and denigrated and paraded outside through the streets and yell shame at them. And she said nothing. But now Will and Grace said we're going to come for the A-listers, and all of a sudden, because they're coming for the A-listers, Whoopi speaks up. And so
pretty elitist.
Yeah, it's a little elitist. So I think she's realized that they're now maybe not for her, but they're definitely starting to come for her friends. She certainly has a little bit of fear that they might be coming for her next. But unfortunately, Whoopi, they might come for you next, but there's almost nobody left to speak up for you. We're all getting booted off of Twitter. We're all getting booted off of YouTube. We've been booted out of Hollywood. We've been booted out of mainstream media. There's no one left to speak up for you when they come for you. So sorry, Whoopi, but I agree with you, but you were late. But welcome to the party anyways.
You should have spoke up years ago. No one's going to be able to advocate for, we shouldn't be dogpiling on top of Whoopi Goldberg because she had a different opinion. No, we should let her be heard. No one's going to be defending you. But you also didn't defend anyone else, so tough luck, I guess. Yeah. We can speak out about it, but you've, because people like you, we've been relegated to a smaller audience than we could have had.
Yes.
but we do have a wonderful audience.
Yes, we love our audience, and we love when you give us diamonds, and we love it when Slowpoke sends us $11 to make Dyer read something ridiculous. But, and again, we're not it's kind of the kind of gut reaction is saying, I hope Whoopi gets it too. She sat there and watched it. I hope they do come for her. I hope that she gets her comeuppance and gets, that would be poetic justice, right? And that it's okay to have that visceral feeling, but when it comes down to it, that you got to let your you got to kind of let those those two selves war out, and you got to let the rational side win out and say, okay, Whoopi, again, welcome. You're a little bit late, but welcome to the party. We will speak up for you if they come for you. You've certainly earned that. I hope that you maintain this viewpoint in the future, and that you recognize us moving forward. And to any other A-listers out there, time's up. This is your time to speak up. Everybody likes to do the hashtag time's up. It's time's up. Let's. Why doesn't all the rest of the A-listers? Why don't you join Whoopi in speaking out? And actually, I would love to see this be something that Whoopi didn't just say one episode on The View a couple of weeks ago. I want this to be something that she keeps talking about. I would like her to. What would be really great is to see her kind of build a coalition of other A-listers saying, "Hey, we don't want this." And we will be very welcoming. The conservatives will be very welcoming of hearing that from Hollywood, saying, "All right, we screwed up, and this is it. We're not doing these lists anymore."
It's possible this could be the catalyst to get the elitist lefts to realize, oh, we've been backing the wrong horse. We've been supporting this regressive leftist, hate mob, and now it's turning on us. We can't control it, and it's dangerous. Just like Nancy Pelosi has been supporting the regressive left until she realized that Antifa and Black Lives Matter hate her too. That the monster she's been helping cultivate and create wants to destroy her. The squad wants to destroy her and replace her. And people in the political elite on the left are realizing, whoa, we need to not let this become the face of our party. And I think that things like this, where elites on the left are being attacked by the hate mob too, they're realizing that they need to break away from it too. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, though. I'm not sure if just Whoopi Goldberg will be enough of someone to really make a difference. But if more people follow in her footsteps, we could have the cultural rebound towards the conservative left. From the left to the conservative side. But hard to tell.
I'll close on two quotes from two different groups here. So we got one of the rallying cries of the left has been by any means necessary, and that's certainly part of this policy is by any means necessary, which means calling people out if that's what you got to do. But also Lindsey Graham during the Kavanaugh hearings. He said it about the Kavanaugh hearings, and he meant it more broadly too, or can at least be applied more broadly. And that is, damn, you guys sure want power, and I hope you never get it, because this is how they go about trying to get power. And God forbid they ever get it.
Yeah, and I want to point out something that Triumvirate said, that it really did take a lot of courage for her to do what she did, and I hope more people will follow in her footsteps.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for another great show. Thank you for everyone who donated. I love doing these one-topic, hour-long dire discussion shows. They're real fun. We will see you again on Saturday for the full 2-hour-long weekly news recap with possibly a game stream afterwards.
Definitely a game stream. Woo!
Depends on how long these shows go. We gotta start writing like 2 hours worth of material.
Yeah, sometimes we sometimes we read up about 3 hours worth of material.
Yeah, it's kind of getting long, but we'll work on it. We're professionals. Anyways, thank you all. You're awesome. We'll see you on Saturday. Dire Wolf out.
V's signing off.